There, after seeing some of these weird names, guys catch touchdown passes from Aaron Rodgers, I'm expecting like a John Barry or somebody out there this weekend.
Well, they did call me, but they called me for the secondary. They wanted the
You were
good
going to
hands.
cover Julio?
They wanted the All-State good hands people to go out there and play, and I just said, you know what, I need at least a week to get ready to play at that level.
Did you have Geronimo Allison on your fantasy team?
I did not have Geronimo Allison. I did have a guy in Denver that I never heard of that got one carry for a touchdown.
Devontae Booker?
Yeah, no.
Oh.
The guy that replaced C.J. Anderson, Howard, I think it was, or no, not Howard, Jordan, something like that. I don't know. He got one carry, 1 yard, and a touchdown. Still lost. My teams are terrible.
What about Trevor Davis? Did you have him on?
I did not have Trevor Davis, and I didn't play
What about
Jordan
Niall
Reed.
Davis?
Niall Davis is available.
He's gone. So,
He may be available now for somebody.
Weird week for the Packers.
Yes, it was.
Still almost won. We'll talk about them, the Badgers. We got some high school football still going on. Some high school soccer teams going to state. We'll catch you all up to date here on this week's episode of Xtra Points. Girls basketball practice starts next week.
That's crazy. That is crazy. But we're going to have some good teams.
We are, but
we're going to have some good
it
teams.
just seems crazy. We've got things still going on.
We got
things fall
going on. We got
sports
swim,
to talk about.
We've got football for a couple area teams, and
soccer.
Soccer's still going on. So yes, it is. But hey, they overlap, and for the 3-sport athletes, not much time in between to take a breath.
No rest for the weary.
No, not at all.
Let's just dive right into some of the. Let's go to high school football first.
Right.
Friday night, we had 3 teams in make it to round 2 games, and now we've got 2 left for the state quarterfinals. You got a chance to see Clinton in Division 5, and they got a little bit of a scare on Friday night, and now I guess. What do you see coming up? They got to play Lancaster here in a Division 5 state quarterfinal game, but at least it's at home on Friday night. Do you think maybe that wakes them up having a close game, or I guess what do you take away from everything over the last?
Well,
few
I
days?
think in talking to Jeff Spivak afterwards, the Clinton coach, one of the best quotes I've heard all year is I said, "What'd you say at halftime?" Because they weren't playing well, and I think the collar was a little tight and the nerves and everything else. And he said, "Look, I went in the locker room. I said, you guys, just go out and have fun. Pretend like you're back in 3rd grade because you guys have been playing together since 3rd grade." He said, "Remember why you started playing this game. It's to have fun." And I think that's what you saw. And the second half, they looked much better. Offensively, they were much more efficient. And defensively, they just shut them down. And Lancaster's going to come in, the 3rd most successful program in state history, 65 postseason wins. 65, which is third to Darlington and Arrowhead, which both have 66. So obviously one of the greatest programs ever. 7 state titles, which I'm pretty sure is the most. And a team that's 10-1. They're going to be good. They have Evan Gates, 3rd leading rusher in the state right now at about 2,000 yards. So you're going to have the one dynamic back that Lancaster has against Peyton Pope, Jordan Jones, and
Tyler Halstead.
Yeah, Tyler Halstead, a bevy of backs for Clinton. So I think it's going to be a grinded out. Don't think you're going to see a lot of passing. And,
Here was my question was, they hadn't had a close game for like 2 months.
Right.
So does the fact that they actually were kind of challenged, could that play a role in, I guess, just kind of making them a little more comfortable in this game, which we expect to be probably pretty close?
Right. And it's the 3rd round of the playoffs. That's a place that this program, Clinton's never been. This is the furthest they've ever gotten. And just electric atmosphere there last Friday night. That's what I wrote about in this weekend's football weekend. It's great to see for a small town like that to get behind something and really embrace it, enjoy it, and that's what they're doing right now. And I think the kids are feeding off of that. But Lancaster brings a much different mentality, attitude. I think they better be ready to play. And Coach Spivak said, if we play like we did the first half last week against Arcadia, there won't be any coming back. He said, we've got to come out right away and play well. If we don't, we're going to be done.
At least they're at home for that.
Yep.
They earned that by earning the number 1 seed in that bracket. So, now this is uncharted waters for them.
It is.
And I guess you'd probably just kind of take that mentality. You got nothing to lose really at this point.
No, you don't. And they know they can play with anybody, and they know if they play like they did the second half last week, they'll be okay.
In Division 1, we've got Lake Geneva Badger still alive. Some people may be surprised by that. Others maybe not, just because they moved up to Division 1.
You and I aren't.
They've certainly proven themselves, worthy of the number 2. And maybe, I guess now even they're the top seed left in that bracket. They've knocked off 2 Big 8 opponents already, and now they get 5th-seeded Middleton coming to town Friday night, trying to run the Big 8 gauntlet.
Yes, and team you got to see last Friday night, I was just doing the stats on them, and obviously it starts with Mason Dumais, the fine senior quarterback who's over 1,100 yards rushing, really a lot of yards per carry, but that offense I think is 288, 290 a game rushing, and really it's more or less, here's what we're going to do, try and stop us.
Well, and that's the thing that kind of impressed me is like they didn't have huge chunk gains, like maybe 1 or 2 plays that were like over 10 yards.
Right, yep.
But when you get 4 or 5 yards every single time, then you move the chains.
Yep.
And when you they were on the field for 35 of the 48 minutes against Verona on Friday night. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That in the first half, they had a 10-play drive, a 16-play drive, like a 12-play. I mean, it was just, they stacked these drives together, and all of a sudden your defense is never getting off the field.
And once again, I believe they fell behind 7-0, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're so used to it, and that's the one thing Matt Hensler's preached about the last couple of years, because this is a chance for them to get into the state semifinals for 2 years in a row, is that these kids don't panic. There's no panic in these kids. They just go out and play. It doesn't matter if we're ahead, behind. They just stay at an even keel, and I think you obviously saw that last weekend because that early deficit didn't seem to bother him too much.
And then with Dumais, I just was really impressed with him.
Yeah.
He's not a big kid by any means, especially for a quarterback, but he just finds a way to get it done. They let him make his own reads so he can hand it off. They've got a couple different running backs. You don't know which one you're going to see. I think in the first round of the playoffs, it was Will Keller who had a lot of the damage. Last week it was Patrick Watrous. And obviously Dumais gets his when he keeps the ball. And he just seems to make those reads so well that opposing teams don't have a chance to know who has the ball until you're 4 yards ahead, and even if they tackle you right then, well, they've already picked up what they're looking for.
And I think the one advantage Badger has going into this week is Middleton's not as efficient on offense as Verona was coming in. Verona runs that counter, and if you're not prepared for it, it can be really tough to defend. But I think Badger's been so good defensively all season long that I think they find a way to shut Middleton down, and I think I picked 21-7, something like that. I think Badger comes out of that with a win, and like you said, they'll run the gauntlet and knock off 3 straight Big 8 opponents and get themselves into a state semifinal where either Franklin or Milwaukee Marquette's waiting on the other side, and Franklin's a team that a lot of people really liked, but they struggled last week. They won, but it wasn't an easy win for them. So, Badger, again, they're playing at home. We know how good they are on both sides of the ball, and I would expect them to come out of there with a win.
And they still got a chip on their shoulder because people said, I think they went in thinking they should be the 1 seed because they went undefeated and won the Southern Lakes, but they were up against 5 Big 8 teams that were going to make sure that they got the number 1 seed. Yeah. And so far they've taken them out, and they don't have to deal with the number 1 seed because Sun Prairie got knocked out in the first round. And they just want to, everybody, like you said too, everybody else said, they're moving up to Division I, they don't have a chance. And they're just out to prove some things, and so far they're getting it done.
They are getting it done. And while I mentioned the Big 8, quick shout out to Janesville Parker's Juan Harris, Ed Jacobson, and DJ Vance, who were, all 3 were first-team All-Big 8 selections, announced yesterday. Juan Harris...
Both
ways for him. So he had originally committed to Indiana. That's no longer the case. But shout out to those 3 from Parker for great seasons and great careers. And
so he's not going to Indiana either.
He's
he originally committed to Iowa three times.
And Indiana
and then he was at Indiana.
He was there, and then I guess evidently took another visit and just didn't like what he saw, or just didn't like the future of the program and where it was going. So he's now, I guess he's on the free agent market, I guess is how you can put it. And I don't know if, I'm sure there's some interest because at 6'6", 390 pounds,
you don't find a lot of guys.
You don't find a lot of kids that size. And obviously he had a very good season. So he'll land somewhere. But again, shout out to those 3 from Parker for outstanding season. Number of Janesville kids, second team and honorable mention. And then you can read all about that in Wednesday's paper or possibly Thursday's, depending if I can get a hold of a few people and get some quotes. But it's that time of the year where the all conference selections are starting to roll in.
Yeah, we'll have all area teams coming out in the next couple of weeks as well, and we'll let you know about that here when they're coming. And soccer, I guess, is the other big story of the week. We've got 2 Walworth County teams, 2 Southern Lakes teams up at state, which we knew they were good all year, but I don't know if we thought both of them were going to be state bound. I think Delavan-Darien, they were out to prove something, and they've got the they had the pieces to get there, and I don't think we're that surprised that the Comets are there.
I don't think so either. And I think when you look at Elkhorn, certainly a huge win over Oregon. I don't, again, and you and I have discussed this before, I don't know a lot about soccer. You're more of a soccer guru than I am, but I don't like the shootout. I don't like the fact that Elkhorn and Oregon have to decide things by, 5 kids going one-on-one with a goalie. I think you should just play until somebody scores. I don't care if it takes all day or all night. I just don't like the rule. I know that's how that's how it's set up. But Elkhorn, it doesn't matter. Good for them to get through. The Elks will be a good representative of the Southern Lakes, and certainly when you look at Delavan in Division III, that is a very skilled team. Very skilled team.
I guess first just to talk about I will disagree with you on the shootout. I think if you've gone that far and there's no winner, I mean, at some point you got to get off the field.
Yeah.
You're not playing.
Well, it's training then. Who trains harder? Who's got more endurance? Who can?
Nobody's got more. There are not many.
I know. It's a tough way. It's a tough way to. I feel bad for the goalie from Oregon. I guess let's put it that way, because he keeps his team off the board, and then he's got to face one-on-one, and I don't know what the percentage is on penalty kicks, but
not very good. Probably.
It's not good, and
Although in high school it's different because shooters miss the net sometimes a lot more than like professionals do.
But I don't. Again, I'm not taking anything away from the Elks because they've been that good defensively all year, and
they've only got 3 losses. I think 2 of them were to Delavan-Darien.
And I think when you look at their bracket, certainly Whitefish Bay is the heavy favorite to win that bracket, but still the Elks, with the way that they can play defense, we saw them shut down Delavan-Darien. They're going to go up there and make a strong bid. I can guarantee you that.
I think, too, another team that can go in there with nothing, they don't think they have anything to lose.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people that were probably a part of that team or around it or over there thought that next year was the year. They've got a lot of juniors that are very talented.
They do.
And I think they thought, hey, we've got something good coming, but it's probably next year. And here they are this year getting their feet wet and maybe even doing more than that up at Elang Park there in Milwaukee.
Yep.
And I think for Delavan-Darien, a chance to win a second state championship in 3 years and third in program history, and I would think that if a decent chance to do that.
Yeah, and I think unlike Elkhorn, which not that they're just happy to be there, but the Comets are on a mission, and there's no question about that. And with the talent they have and the coaching they get from Mike Marsh, I mean, that's a team that I would be very surprised if they didn't come out there with a gold ball. I just think they're that skilled and that talented, and they're tough to play because they're so good with the ball and without the ball, and just knowing where each other is on the field, and they're fun to watch. And again, for a guy like me that's a soccer novice that doesn't know a whole lot,
even you enjoyed it.
Yeah, for a guy that has watched so much bad soccer in my day, and I'm not going to name anybody, but just some bad soccer where it's just kicking the ball back and forth. To watch these kids that are so skilled and at a different level it puts a different perspective for me. And I'm not a big soccer guy, but it certainly makes it way more entertaining to watch.
Sounds good. Get over there if you get a chance. They both play Friday afternoon, and then if they win, they would play Saturday night. So,
right.
Or late afternoon and night.
Right.
Let's give a quick shout out to cross country. Peyton Sippy, 4th place finish over the weekend. Aaron Sorg from Delavan-Darien, 8th place, finishing on the podium. I think pretty darn good weekend.
From where Peyton Sippy was, not that she was ever bad. I mean, because she's always been good, but from where she was mid-season in her times to where she finished is pretty remarkable.
And she came back from last year from injury and to kind of work her way back.
It's pretty remarkable what she did and to come out of there with 4th place. And it's kind of where, when I talked to Brian Lawton the day before, it's really where he thought she would finish. He said the 3 girls ahead of her were all going to be tough to catch. He said not that she couldn't do it, but he said, when you talked to him afterward, he said it kind of played out exactly like we thought. And 4th place is great. I mean, for a junior that's going to have a chance next year to come back, can't say enough. And for Nate Farrell, a senior who wasn't able to finish, still hats off to him. He had a great career at Craig, school record holder time-wise, and he had a chance to be the first Craig runner to finish in the top 10 3 times. But again, just had a little trouble at the end. But hey, you still can't take anything away from him.
Hopefully he has recovered well.
He has, yeah. I already talked to his dad. He was I think dehydrated, and they got some fluids in him and an IV, and his dad said half an hour afterward he was walking around and doing okay. So it's good to hear.
We'll see him on the wrestling mat.
Yeah, and we will see him on the track in the spring season as well. So yep.
Let's switch to the college game.
Lucky.
I was there Saturday night.
What's
I
going on?
don't think I've ever cheered for Bart Houston to be in a game, and then
Yeah,
I found myself doing it at one point, and
what
then
is
I
going
didn't.
on with our quarterbacks?
I didn't know who I
don't
wanted. I
understand
still don't
what's
know who I
going on.
want to be the
I don't
quarterback.
either. I
Really.
don't get it. And now I hear T.J. Watt may not be able to play Saturday. Olive Oil's already out for his third straight game. So, it's a banged up bunch, but they find a way. And
now they've reached the part in the schedule where it's supposed to be a
yeah,
little easier.
and if they get by Northwestern, which isn't going to be easy, Northwestern gave Ohio State all they could handle at home. So, let's get this one. Then we've got Illinois, Minnesota, and Purdue, and I like our chances to get to the Big Ten after that.
Maybe get some
game.
guys healthy after
Nebraska's going to lose to Ohio State this week, and we win. We're right where we want to be. We control our own destiny, but you got to get by Northwestern. And like I was reading today, Vince Beagle, Wisconsin hasn't won at Northwestern since Vince Beagle was 6 years old.
That's sad.
So that's not good. So hopefully we can.
That's got to be one of the weirder things in Badger sports right now because things have gone so well on so many different levels.
Yep.
And for some reason you can't win at Northwestern.
And Evanston isn't exactly, a huge home field advantage because I guarantee you're going to look up in the stands on Saturday, you're going to see a lot of red.
Right.
You're going to see a lot of red. So, go in there, take care of business. I don't care if it's ugly, just get a win and move on. And
I guess my hope is for this week and the next 4 weeks that hopefully things are easier and hopefully one of those quarterbacks really kind of emerges again.
Yes,
because
I agree. I don't like the two quarterback system.
If they're going to win out and put themselves in a spot where they can go to the Big Ten title game and perhaps get themselves in the playoff picture,
Yep.
I mean, you need to have one of those guys.
A wise man once said, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks.
I think a lot of them. I mean, it seems like it's almost overused at this point, but it's not because it's true.
It is true. I agree.
The Packers have one quarterback, but they have like 12 receivers, depending on who's hurt, injured, sick. I guess the goofiest part of it all is with this running game, Rodgers has to throw the ball like 60 times, and if it's going to be like this, we don't even know who. You never even know who he's throwing to.
Well, and the one thing I don't understand is a guy like Clay Matthews, who's so essential to their success defensively. How can a guy in that good a shape, and as much training as he does and endurance and everything else, how can his hamstring be chronically bad? It's always his hamstring. Wouldn't you think somebody in that peak condition, hamstring would be their least problems that they would have? You would think it was a fluky leg injury, but it's every time it's his hamstring. It's been going on for how many years now?
It just seems like he's never playing.
Can you have a hamstring surgery, or can you have a
replace it?
Can you get a replacement
like a Tommy
hamstring?
John,
yeah, like a
take
new
a tendon
knee.
out and put in a new hand.
Give him a new hamstring. Can't they do that, or a bionic leg or something?
I don't know if they've figured out that one yet. With all the craziest part was that usually you see the inactive list and it's full of like 6 guys you never heard of.
Right.
And everybody on the inactive list for the Packers this week were like starting players.
Montgomery,
and they
Cobb,
still
Lacey,
almost beat the Falcons.
They did. And, I really thought Matty Ice takes them down there again talking about the Falcons, and they go ahead. But I really thought that at least Green Bay would get in field goal range, and they just didn't. And Adams, he's got to know better than, with time running down, you got to get to the sidelines. You got to get to the sidelines and make a play and get out of bounds and give yourselves a chance. And, it's frustrating because you hear afterwards, I'm proud of the way our guys played. We know we're banged up, but nobody feels sorry for us in that. And you're right, but you still, good teams find a way to win. And, I watched the Vikings last night. They were terrible. They've come down to earth. They've been exposed. So here the Packers
they've got their own share in
with 3 losses, and now they're still only a game out of first. So again, I think when this is all said and done, I still think Green Bay wins the division.
It's all just make the playoffs, get everybody healthy, and see what happens there. Is really,
you're right.
We said the same thing all last year, but it's the same thing again this year with all these injuries stacking up. It just kind of is what it is.
And I think right now people are, the skeptics are kind of jumping on the McCarthy bandwagon a little bit right now, and I don't know if it's deservedly so or not, but I do question some of his play calling, but hey, when a guy's got a Super Bowl in his pocket, it's hard to really second guess him too much.
There's also, I don't know if this is on him or the GM, but you have to get somebody who can run the ball.
Yeah.
What's he supposed to do? What's he supposed to call when your best running back is Ripkowski?
I don't know. I agree, and like I say, it's that Packer mentality of just not making trades and not doing anything to improve the team and working through basically the draft and a few free agents. But I like the Niall Davis move when they made it, but obviously the Packers didn't see anything in him because they cut him after 2 games, so they didn't have to lose a draft pick on him.
Right, which I guess if you don't see anything, you might as well
cut him, yeah. But now your running back is
maybe Montgomery's back.
I don't know.
Ripkowski for 5 carries.
I don't know.
Don
Rodgers.
Jackson for 5 carries.
Aaron
Rodgers for 5 carries.
He's going to run the option.
He's probably just going to throw it 60 times.
Yeah, he probably will.
I think that's about
Should
all we
cover
got
our bases this week.
Yeah.
Yep. Maybe talk a little Badger basketball next week.
Yeah, they got started with a little exhibition, and things are right around the corner here, ranked 9th in the first AP poll. So we'll talk more about them, see if we got some football teams left, some
soccer state champions,
and see if we got some swimmers going to state next week too. So no rest around here.
No,
basketball around the corner.
Right around the corner.
Stick around. It's always something around here.
Yes.
So. Thanks to Dave Vaughn for producing the show and Kevin McLeod for the tunes. And if you want to let us know how we're doing, you can leave us a comment on YouTube or Twitter or iTunes or sports@gazetteextra.com.
Anything.
Calling a sound off like the other 6 crazies out there who are still mad you pick against the Packers every week. Yeah, you can find us plenty of different places.
Right, you can.
You can find us back here again next week. We'll see you then.
Go Bucky.